What's up, everybody? This is BR, and today I want to talk about a theory that's been kind of in my head for a while. And this theory has to do with Overwatch 2, especially with its weird development time. It really is surprising that Overwatch 2 took this long to be developed, especially when almost everything that we know about Overwatch 2 was already in development by the time it was announced. And to remind everybody, Overwatch 2 was announced in 2019, so it's very surprising that it took this long, 2022, for it to finally have an official release date. I mean, this could have been because of many variety of factors, such as the COVID-19 pandemic and the multiple allegations that Blizzard went under over the past couple of years. But even then, that stuff didn't really come into consideration until the end of 2021. That's where things really started to heat up. So the real question is, how come we're only seeing stuff now that is really in-depth about the game when it could have very well been done in 2020? Or even early 2021? Especially if you're in the belief that Overwatch 2 really doesn't differ that much from Overwatch 1 in terms of content. Now, I think that I have a pretty good theory on why that is, and it's gonna take a bit to explain. Now, this theory has two main components, and this first one has to do with the, of course, pandemic. With the pandemic, you really don't have that much good productivity in the corporate space. It is no secret that people who work at home tend to not have the same productivity level, quote unquote, compared to when working on location. And this is usually because you don't have somebody breathing down your neck physically to tell you to continue working. And that makes some sort of sense. I'm not saying that anybody is lazy, but at the very least I know that most people don't really have that strong incentive to continue working when you have a very good choice of just going back to bed. But regardless, the main idea here is that productivity isn't as high, and because of that, it probably wouldn't have been a good idea to have the date set somewhere in between the pandemic. Now, this isn't really the main reason why the game was delayed, this is more of a foundation as to why. The main catalyst as to why Overwatch 2 was delayed so much, at least in my opinion, is because of the explosion of the Battle Royale genre. The pandemic gave people so much time that battle royales were pretty enticing. I mean, a lot of these matches take more than an hour to complete if you're really taking the game seriously. And since these games were the biggest games around during the pandemic, I think it would be safe to say that a game like Overwatch 2, which was already not seen in favorable light, wouldn't want to compete with its own company. Because if you remember, Warzone is a game by Activision, and Activision owns Blizzard. And it would probably be a very bad idea to have these games compete with each other in a time when obviously Warzone would be the better fit. So logically, you would want to delay Overwatch 2 until you can get a better time frame of when to release it. And now, because the pandemic is ending, I think the developers finally found their right time to strike. If you would compare the match times between Overwatch 2 and Warzone, Overwatch 2 takes considerably less, with matches taking less than 30 minutes. Perfect for the audience who has to go to work or school or have to do things during the day, and they can't spend hours upon hours grinding out a battle royale, camping until the very end. Because really, you can't just jump into a battle royale. You have to put time aside because you don't know if you're gonna win, and a lot of times when you are going to win, it isn't gonna be something super quick. It's gonna take a while. So Overwatch 2 releasing at the end of the pandemic seems to be a safe bet because people are going to be looking for more short-form entertainment styles in order to fit it into their schedules. And since at the end of the day, Overwatch 2 is still new Overwatch content, people are going to be a lot more happy to receive that content, especially when that's what they're looking for. And not to mention that having less competition, especially from Warzone, during these times, since all the hype has gone down, is definitely going to help it in the long run. And it makes sense. Things that were popular during the pandemic aren't going to be as popular once we go back to normal life. We don't have the time, or we just don't need those resources. I mean, think about things like DoorDash and Uber Eats. We're not going to need those because we're going to be able to go around town ourselves without the restrictions that were there before. Even streaming services, which worked really well during the pandemic because people had so much time to binge watch shows, aren't going to want to continue paying for so many because, well, they're just not going to have enough time to watch it. They're going to want to go outside to, hang out with friends or go to a restaurant, go to an amusement park, do stuff that takes up time, and watching full seasons at a time, well, you're just not going to have time for it. So this is why I think Overwatch 2 might have been abruptly pushed to be released this year. Because, well, the pandemic is ending, People are going to want to play games that don't take so long and don't really require that much time commitment. And with all the content that Overwatch 2 has made over the past couple years, especially with that extra time from the delays, well, I'm sure that's the reason why they're going to try to attack it as much as possible, especially since they don't have anything else trying to fight their spotlight at the time. And I think this is mostly going to benefit them in the long run, rather than the short run where people really were starting to dislike the idea of Overwatch 2. But tell me what you think. Leave your opinion in the comments down below. Like the video if you found it interesting, dislike it if you disliked it. If you'd like to see more content like this in the future, please consider subscribing, and I'll catch you later.